All right, let's talk about those polls, though. Two out yesterday. The Curia poll, which came out just prior to the Prime Minister's press conference, which, to be honest, Ben and I did not attend yesterday, and it was all about the polls. And then the One News Verizon poll came out. One of those polls, the first one, the Curia poll, conducted by a company run by our next guest, David Farrar, joins us now. David, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, the Curia poll conducted for the Taxpayers Union, wasn't it?
That's right.
That's right. All right. Look, I look at these two polls. You would have had a look at the Verizon one too. I mean, given margins of error, they're telling pretty much the same story, aren't they, David?
Yeah, they're compatible with each other. Certainly not identical, but that's unusual, in fact, to be identical. What you've seen, and this is no surprise in our poll, is that both Te Pāhi Māori and ACT have gone up. And that makes sense, for they're the two protagonists on the very contested Treaty Principles Bill. Those who think it's terrible, we've seen support go from Labour and Greens to Te Pāhi Māori, so if you're broadly on the left, they've gone there. Well, we've seen National actually drop in our poll, less so in the One News poll, and ACT go up. So if you're on the centre-right and you think the treaty's a big issue... So you
think we're talking about a transfer of votes, and I know I've seen some polling that suggests that, 54% of National Party people, supporters, support the Treaty Principles Bill. So you think the bump for ACT has come from National?
Yes, very much so. I don't think, you're not got people going from the Green Party to ACT. Sometimes you get a few of those. In our poll, you did see some slippage go from National to ACT there.
Right. What about the broad left-right blocks? Have they changed much in these polls?
The centre-right's still sitting quite comfortably. In fact, they've gone up slightly because the centre-left, even though Te Pāhi Māori have gone up, and for the first time in one of our polls they get a list seat, they normally have overhang, where they win 6 electorate seats, but they're only entitled, if it was just on the Pāhi vote, to 2 or 3 seats. By them taking votes off Greens and Labour, actually the number of seats to the centre-left shrinks because the overhang has reduced. So it actually turned out to be that centre-right would be more comfortable in this poll. However, there is a warning. Te Pāhi Māori were polling higher than New Zealand First. New Zealand First are below 6%. And if they did drop below that 5% threshold, then it would become a much tighter race.
Right. But as I always say, this is a poll a year into a new government. There isn't going to be an election tomorrow. So we look at trends. David, if I could ask you to look back at over the whole year in terms of political polling, where do you think this coalition or what's changed? Has anything significantly changed since the start of the year?
Not a huge amount. It's wait and see to a degree. The coalition won comfortably, but not a huge majority. You never, unless it's 2020, get a huge majority. And generally, they've kept that small but comfortable lead in the polls. There has been movement between different parties on the centre-right, centre-left, and you have seen a bit of transfer where you have seen some Labour voters go over to National, I think partly being scared off somewhat by the radicalism to the left of Labour, but overall it's not that dissimilar to election night. And I think that's because people think, look, we've had a change of government, it's too early for us to make our minds up if we did the wrong thing.
Yep, I get you absolutely.